Welcome to the Reclaim Project podcast, your gateway to discovering the power of ascension, rebuilding, and redefining what it means to stand in your truth. In this episode, Nick Lloyd joins us from the United Kingdom for an insightful conversation about the unseen, the all-knowing. Nick is a gifted medium with the extraordinary ability to see and communicate with what he refers to as interdimensional beings. Whether you're looking to deepen your spiritual and transformational journey, gain a clearer understanding of the spiritual realm, or simply curious about exploring the unknown, this conversation may very well alter your perspective on the reality you perceive to be true. All is not as it seems.
Good morning, Nick, or good morning where you are. It's late evening where I am, so it's really great to connect with you again. This is our second chat in 2 weeks. It's one that I've been looking forward to.
Thank you for having me back on the show. Good morning great. Where I am in the UK. It's your evening.
This subject is one that really fascinates me because given that, my personal experiences, limited experiences, but experiences nonetheless, it's certainly an area that fascinates me. And also, as I said to you last week, I think it's an area that a lot more people are opening up to or allowing themselves to accept that it's not just us, that there is different or very different dimensions, higher dimensions. They may not understand it, but they're accepting it. This whole journey for you started at a very young age. You were 3 years old. You experienced some things that you didn't quite, as a 3-year-old, obviously didn't understand fully. Your mum didn't understand it and went through some ways to try and get some answers. And like you said, you tried to suppress it during your teens. And then I think you said you were 19, that you decided, I've got to deal with this. I've got to use it. It's not going to go away.
Yeah, I was a little bit older.
A bit older. Okay.
A little bit older, but yeah, it very much started when I was 3 years old. I didn't really have much experience myself at that age because I don't really remember that time. My mother that used to tell me some stories of what would happen. But yeah, I suppressed it for many years because of my fearful experiences that I had with the spirit. They still come through exactly the same now, looking how they passed. But I've had a lot more experiences, since then. I've gone through the various stages of interactions of various kinds of beings and entities.
If we were to describe your gift, well, can we label it? Can we apply a label to it? Would you say nicklloydmedium?
I would refer to myself as a medium.
Okay.
I can also work with various other aspects of, trance mediumship, channeling, all these different types of things. But definitely mediumship. And I wouldn't have said it was a gift. It's something that I feel was forced upon me because it's not something I wanted, growing up. And when I said it was terrifying, I mean it was terrifying. I was so frightened growing up from a young age, seeing these beings, as I like to call them. I don't call them spirits. I call them beings because that's what they are. They're still living beyond this realm of what we can see as the 3D. And my life growing up with spirit it wasn't on and off. It was constant. I would have visitations regular. And not only did I see the beings, the spirit, they would also transfer information. I would see their last moments. I would see the graphic detail of when they passed, but also the lead up. Now, there were also nice messages they would pass me with, the good times in their life, their connection with the person I'm going to pass on a message. But being young and receiving all that information telepathically, because it wasn't verbally, it was through the mind. It was terrifying because I was seeing, feeling, hearing all these different things that, as a 5-year-old, for example, catastrophic for my childhood.
Absolutely.
I would say it is a gift now because I've learned to work with spirit. I go to development groups, development circles, and I've been on a couple of courses. And the one thing that people say to me is, Nick, why do you need to go on a course if you can already communicate. And I'm like,
Correct.
it's just you learn different techniques. It's not
Right.
learning to communicate, it's learning various techniques of how you can work with spirit.
So I just want to touch on the communication. You alluded to it before. You said they communicate telepathically. Do you see visions as well, or apparitions, or how do they manifest?
It varies,
Right.
it varies on a grand scale. So what we can perceive with our own senses, we can see, hear, feel, taste, smell. You might have a gut feeling, and we can call it the knowing or intuition. I
Mm.
would sense spirits within all of those areas as well, and I still do. So when I seen spirit when I was a child, and up to now, they would be physical apparitions. They would look solid. They would look like you and me, but they would look like that with their conditions of how they passed, their injuries. If it was a catastrophic accident, they were in a car accident, they were taken out by a lorry, or they had, for example, AIDS, or they died of cancer, or all these different types of things. They would come through looking like that. They would give me the information of that, the feeling of that. So all of the senses are involved with spirit communication. And it's not the same for everybody. I'll probably say I'm quite lucky.
Mm.
you know, but the spirit are very conscious, and they can see everything that's going on. They can interact with the living because they are very much conscious as we are. And when they transfer information, that is all it is. Everything that they can give me as a message is information. In their form, they are just light, they are just energy. So anything that is manifested, so whether they show me them physically, they show a flash of light, they show a smell,
Yeah.
they show me visions, because within the third eye, as we like to call it in the mystic,
Yeah.
mediumship world, it is just as clear as my own eyes. So a lot of the time, I will cast my eye to the side when I'm giving a reading, and that is because I'm looking into spirit. I'm looking into what the information that they are giving me, and I gaze.
When you gaze, are you still aware that let's say you and I are having a conversation in person and you
Mhm.
gaze off into the distance, are you still aware that you're in my space, or
Yes.
you're completely entranced?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. If I'm doing a one-to-one reading, I
Yeah.
will be I'll be fully aware of you,
Right.
okay? But I will be casting my eye into the spirit world. But whether if I'm giving a platform demonstration, I am giving readings to many people, in the audience. Everybody will they will like blur out. I won't have no attention
Understand.
of what is going on with anybody else, but I'll be focused on the person I'm giving the reading. So everybody disappears.
To give us a better understanding of spirit, are they only, and excuse the terminology if it's not accurate, but are they only energy beings from people that have passed, or are there other forms of spirit?
This is a good question, and
Okay.
I don't have all the answers. But my experience, and this is something I am currently trying to find out, all
Mm.
these variations of beings, entities, ETs, all these different types of
Yeah.
things. I'm trying to find out, whether they are all of the same thing, or
Yeah.
whether they are actually separate entities. And I've asked researchers, I've asked a very good friend of mine who is an author, and he delves very much deep into the ET phenomena. He's a medium as well. And everybody's had very different experiences with these various entities and beings. Not everybody sees the things that I've seen in the same way, for example. So I might see a physical being in
Mm.
physical form, but some people might see that as a shadow. So
Mm.
they do appear to show themselves in a way that is right for you, if that makes sense. So
Right.
if you are at the very early stages of interacting with these spirits, these beings, then they might come through looking like a loved one,
Mm.
looking like a person. But then they also come through looking like light. Okay. Light beings is what I associate them to be. because the next transition into my development was seeing them as light beings. They would show me as they were. And it was my father who passed who actually started to show me this side of it. He would come through showing me him as a solid person, but then he would say to me, Nick, this is our true form. And he would switch into a light being. But then there have been various other types that have come through and communicated. But that is the question. Are they all of the same being entity, or are they separate entities and beings themselves? Because I do believe in interdimensional beings, and I've had experience with these, and they can look human, but they can also cast the shape of various other beings and entities. So
Okay, so sorry to interject. So
yes,
interdimensional beings are
yes.
different now. We're talking about a different entity to a light being or a spirit or
Well,
layman's terms, a ghost.
exactly. An
Okay,
interdimensional being is an entity from another plane of existence, very much same as spirit and light
right.
beings. They're all from various realms, various vibrations, and it's very much the same as ETs as well. They come in with the same sort of energy, the energy signature. They can teleport, they can appear out of nowhere, they can manipulate energy. And this is very much the same thing with all of these entities and beings. They very much have the same, whether it be technology or whether it just be the fact that we are, in lamer terms, we're not very much evolved to understand our true being, our true nature. We are all souls, we are all spirit inhibiting a physical form. So are we light beings is the question as well. We just don't really understand that we're just working with a vessel.
The profound question of, who we are and what are we doing here and, where do we fit in? Where do we belong? That's certainly part of this equation. So, the concept of your body dies and you ascend into this dimension called heaven. So the question is, are these beings, are these spirits in heaven, or are they stuck in a quandary, like they haven't quite
hmm
made it there yet?
hmm So heaven is, it's a man-made conception.
It
You
is,
know,
yeah.
heaven in reality is a state of consciousness.
Mm,
Everything is a state of consciousness. So when we visit heaven, it is just our vibration. We ascend through the vibrations. So we become higher. We as a human being are probably one of the most very dense vibration, but in all, we're energy. It's like I said in a previous episode, we are atoms vibrating so fast
yeah.
that it appears to be solid, but when you break it back down into the molecular level, we are not. We are all very much a vibration that is living amongst this world. So when you break that down further, you do go down to the vibrational level, which is then your consciousness. And there is also the concept as well that your mind, your thoughts, they are a separate entity to your body. So your thoughts are, we think that we communicate through and think through the mind, but there is a lot of electrons and things going on within your thoughts, that it has been proven that our thoughts and everything around this is external to our
Mm,
to what we perceive as thoughts. It's its own entity. It's
yeah.
like it goes into the cloud. And
Yeah.
maybe this is why I can communicate with those from beyond, because everything that they have lived, thought, been through is all recorded through the grand scheme of a consciousness, the higher being, the higher soul, the higher entities of the universe. Nothing is what it seems. And we are very much only on the tip of the iceberg of what reality is. And I
Sure.
do believe that it is so complex and complicated that we can't fathom the true reality of anything. But the one thing I do know is that we are everything and nothing all at the same time. We try to, work our way up to be the best of everything, when in fact we just need to be nothing to be everything, if that makes sense. It's like when you go into meditation,
Yes. Yeah.
you start with your guided meditations to understand and learn how to meditate. But then, in fact, you learn a lot more when you let go to nothing and you just go deep within the consciousness of your mind. That is where the teachings and the learnings are.
I mean, like you said, our vibration is very dense,
Hmm.
but we are able to
Increase the vibration.
increase it, aren't we? By
Yes.
certain practices.
Hmm.
Meditation, you mentioned, you alluded to that earlier. What
Yes.
else can we do?
So there are many things that we can do to raise our vibration. The first thing is definitely meditation. We can walk within nature. We can ground. We can open our chakras. We can do all these types of things. Anything that really resonates with you, makes you happy, that is something that will automatically raise your vibration. But it's also your or the way you see life. If you see life very positively, you praise yourself, you have affirmations, all these different types of things, these will raise your vibration. It's all to do with having a positive attitude, a positive vibe within life that will automatically raise your vibration. Many things, anything that you can think of that makes you happy, for example, to make it easier to understand,
Yeah,
will raise your vibration. Meditation, walking in nature.
yeah,
Also, sex
yeah.
is very good at raising your vibration, probably
Yeah.
one of the best ways. But yeah,
Nutrition, is that one of them? Maybe.
nutrition, you can have
Yep,
high vibrational foods.
yep.
So things like berries, very high vibrational.
Right,
But if you stay within the natural foods, meat is very low vibrational, because you've also got the vibration of the animal as well. So if they were going through a traumatic experience when they passed, then you are also consuming low vibrational energy.
right,
So yeah, leafy greens,
right.
everything like that. But the things that can lower your vibration is illness, which is natural amongst all of us.
Mm,
We can all feel down and low. So, so higher consumption of alcohol,
right.
drugs, being around the wrong type of people that like to cause harm. All these things will naturally lower your vibration.
Now, just on that, raising your vibration and
Hmm.
all those practices, if you're still carrying unresolved trauma, for example, or some shadows around, your past or childhood, whatever, I would imagine that would hold you back from raising it as high as you
Yes,
can because you haven't done the inner work. So you could do all those
exactly.
practices, but you won't optimize your vibration as much as you can because you still have these unresolved. Am I on the right track there? Yeah.
No, you're definitely on the right
Yeah.
track. And everybody's got unresolved, issues,
Mm,
trauma. Whether it's, you hold the point of not talking to somebody because you fell out, for
mm.
example, that is holding on to low vibrational energy. And I do Reiki. I practice
Oh,
Reiki.
yeah.
So I very much understand that blockages from certain activities, can very much affect your body. And energy can get to the point where it can cause physical pain within your body. So if you have, for example, there is a lot that you need to say to people. You might start getting a sore throat, for example. So energy can be stored within the body. Emotions, especially, they're stored within your gut, your stomach. So
Yeah.
energy plays a part within everything that we do within our life, and you can cause blockages with unresolved trauma, definitely. But this is where we go through it's like we're forced, to look into these darker aspects of ourselves,
Hmm.
where it be the dark night of the soul, for example. Unresolved trauma doesn't stay hidden forever. It has to surface, it has to be released, back into the ether, into the universe. So we do have to face these things at some point within our life to raise our vibration, and to essentially ascend. But I wouldn't say it could truly hold you back fully.
Okay.
There are things that I still haven't resolved, and I can still communicate with spirit. I can
Sure.
still raise my vibration, but to be a fully clear channel and to ascend and to progress through your spiritual journey, you do have to work on all of these different aspects, and it is a part of the journey.
Just help me understand Reiki. And I've seen people offer services of being They call themselves a light worker. I don't fully understand what that is.
Yes, so basically we have the universal energy of the universe, the
Mm,
power of everything that is, and we're able to channel that energy through our being. And what we do is we very much focus on the chakras, of the body, which we know we have seven main chakras, but we have chakras literally all over our body, everywhere. There are probably hundreds. And what we do as a light worker, there are very different variations of light workers. People don't just associate it with Reiki. They do also associate it with helping spirit move on and things like this, anything to do with the light, the beings, everything that is all very much part of the same picture. But what I do within Reiki is so you might go for a massage, for example, for your
mm,
physical body,
mm.
to relieve all the chemicals within your tissues. Within Reiki, we do very much the same, but for your soul, for your aura, for your energy centers. And when you meditate, for example, you are naturally clearing your chakras, your energy field. So what I do with Reiki, you can be lying down, for example. Now you can either touch the person or you can just hover your hands over the person. But I very much focus the spiritual energy, the natural source of energy through my hands into their energy centers. And it very much is all to do with an intention. What is the intention of what I want to do with this energy? And it is always to cleanse their chakras, their energy field. And what we do is we start with the head and then we sort of like push out the energy down the body, down the feet, and out, into the earth. But you'll notice when people are having the session, they will feel various sensations. They'll feel heat. My hands, for example, they get very, very hot when the
Right.
energy is being transferred through to the person. And as we are going through this, unresolved trauma
Mm,
does raise, and I can pick up on this. So
mm.
I will get the intuition of what is going on within that energy center. I will write it down. I will let them know at the end as I'm clearing it. So, for example, if they've got a lot on their mind, there's a lot to think about. They've gone through something traumatic. It's taken over their mind, their life. I would feel maybe like a static around their head. But also being a medium, sensitive to energy anyway, I
Mm.
can also pick up on what it is, what is going on. So I might get visions. I might see things or scenarios that have played out in for being the reason for this. But then I work my way down the body, cleanse the chakras. But the thing with once you've cleansed the chakra, it can still be blocked. It's
Right.
something that you have to treat as like a massage. Go once a month, go every couple of weeks, for
Right.
example, and cleanse these areas.
Now, just on that cleansing of energy, if you like, I think that's a nice segue into another service or another function that you perform is in fact cleansing or clearing homes and
Yes.
buildings
Mhm.
where these energies are stuck. As I recounted in a previous conversation, I said, I in fact lived in a house for a year where this young female was, she was
Mhm.
murdered by her husband and buried in the backyard, and she was very much stuck in the house. So walk us through that process.
There are two sides. Okay, there are two sides of this. There is the reality, and then there is the side where people expect things. It's like you
Okay.
almost have to do a lot more, a lot extra than what is needed, just so I don't know, it reassures people that what you have done is completed. But very much with spirit, if they're inhabiting a plane or a home, for example, it is their energy. They could very much leave an energy imprint of the traumatic experience, or they could, in fact, just be, living out their own existence on another plane within that location. They might have lived there, for example. And with my experience with spirit, they are still living their life within a different time frame, a different existence, a different plane of existence whilst you're living yours. So it's like the string theory, for example. We're all living at the same time on different strings,
Mm.
different planes of existence. But sometimes those energy vibrations, they can overlap, and you might get a glimpse of somebody on another time frame, another plane. And that is when you see spirit, feel spirit, hear spirit. It's
Yep.
because they've touched onto ours. So when I go to a home to do a clearing, the first thing I do is I feel the energy, I communicate with the entity, the being, the spirit, and then you set the intention of what you want to happen. Intention is very powerful in the sense that your thoughts can create a physical manifestation of what you want. It's a real thing. So I'll go there and I will either do Reiki on the house. So I will visualize the energy being cleansed. So it might be a light. I might envisage a light within my mind. So I might sit there and meditate and visualize the energy being released from the location. But you can also obviously do sage and all these different types of things. But all we're doing is setting intention with the physical aspect to make it look like we're doing something. Because if I
Right.
just sat there and just did my own thing, you'd be like, I don't actually believe you did anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So just
So,
walking around with sage it's quite
I
redundant,
mean,
you're saying, unless there's an intention behind it.
exactly, because you
Right.
will notice when people work with sage and go to the different corners of the house,
Mm.
they're usually saying a mantra at the same time, the
Okay.
intention of what they want.
Yep.
So they might say, this room is cleansed, this room is blessed, the lower vibrational energy has left. This type of thing. So you're talking the intention as you're doing it, but you don't actually need the physical aspect of it. You just need the intention. But people do it because it's a nice ritual to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to say, I sage my house today, rather than saying, I set the intention in my house today. And people are like, okay, you're a bit weird, but we understand the other
Yeah.
side of it. Still weird, but okay.
Yeah.
People have a set thought in their mind of how you do things, so everybody just does it.
Now, you said before that spirit communicates to you, maybe perhaps the way they've passed, and sometimes it's quite horrific. And a bit of a long-winded question, so just bear with me. Now, certainly in my previous occupation, I've come across some that I can only describe as evil people, just inherently evil. So if somebody's like that on Earth, does that energy then, once they pass, does that energy then just stay malevolent? Does it stay an evil, quote unquote, spirit?
So when it doesn't matter what they did on the
Mm.
earth plane, whatever they did, they always go back. When they cross over, they go back to love. They go back to their original source, their original
Wow,
energy.
interesting.
Anything that is played out within the earth plane is a lot of the time their own doing. But we could go very deep into this, and I'm not sure if the listeners would maybe accept some of the things that I could say. A lot of people aren't ready to hear the true nature of spirit and everything that goes on within the earth plane. But what the one thing that spirit can do is they can pass their life, everything that they did as information to me. So I do have, and I've had, violent spirits come through, very degrading spirits come through, but it's not who they are now. So a lot of the time when they come through, they always apologize. Spirit always apologize to the person to the victim, that they are sorry for what they did. I don't agree with that. Their apology is going to, save anything,
Sure.
because the person that they've caused the harm is still going through grievance
Yeah.
of what's happened.
Yeah, for sure.
But once we cross over, the light and dark separates. But the one thing we do have is our vibration. Okay. So our vibration can still be low. We still have a very low vibration. And
Mm.
people that are drug addicts, alcoholics, they've murdered people, for example, they do naturally have a lower vibration, within the spiritual world, within the spiritual evolution. So if they have not learned what they were meant to have learned when they went back, they've carried on causing all the harm, their disgusting acts and things like this, then they will very much stay within that vibration. And when they cross over to spirit, they are still in that vibration. So if we are still very low vibrational, then they might within spirit go back to those acts of what they did because they enjoyed it, and they will be around the drug addicts, they will be around the alcoholics, the murderers, because that is their natural vibration. So they will go there.
Yes. So are there then, and I'm going to dive straight into this question.
Do it.
Are there demonic, what we would refer to demonic spirits or demons as such?
Now you see, religion calls them demons.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
religion calls them. It's religion that calls them demons. Now with religion, they do grasp the concept of what they are, but I think there's been a lot of manipulation through the centuries,
Mm,
of what they truly are. Obviously, the Catholic Church, for example. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I don't. Religions play a part within society and everything like that. And I believe that religion is very much a big part of spirituality. It comes under the spirituality bubble because we
mm,
are all worshiping the same thing, the
exactly.
same
Yeah.
energy source, the same God, and all these different types of things. But when it comes to low vibrational beings, as I like to call them, they are just at the very earliest stages of their growth within vibration. So we've all
Yeah.
come from that concept of low vibrational energy. And they are very much going through that process. They live their life, they come to life, they ascend, they grow, their energy increases. But if, for example, they do not learn every single time, they stay at that lower energy. And I have had many experiences with low vibrational entities. They're not demons. They very much play on your intention, your consciousness. If you, for example, go to a location and you've been told there are very low vibrational beings, there are
Yeah.
demons, then you will get that activity, you will get poltergeist activity. But
Which you have experienced, incidentally, from a previous
yes,
conversation. You said, yeah.
yes.
Sorry.
So I've
Yeah.
experienced poltergeist activity, low
Mm,
vibrational activity. I've been scratched. I have been attacked by spirit, but that I wasn't attacked. Spirit not only can manifest the emotions and images and visuals, they can manifest the physicalities of things as well, injuries. And I grew up from a very young age having scratches on my body from spirit, but they would always disappear very quickly. And there was an experience that I had when I went to probably one of the most haunted castles in the UK I've been to. And we went to the pub next door, probably around the same age. And I was sat there with a lady. We were there as a group. She turned around for a split second, turned back. She was like, "Whoa, Nick, you have got some very big scratches on your face." And I had like claw marks going down my face. And I was like,
wow.
"Well, I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to take a picture." But the scratches were very deep and red, went down my face. And I lifted my hat up and they were up, you know, towards the top of my head. Took a picture, did not feel anything, did not notice anything.
Right.
But looking at the image, you would think you would definitely feel that. When I left the pub, the scratches disappeared within an hour. They disappeared.
Right.
So spirit can manifest not only the sensations, but also the physical aspect. And this
Fascinating.
is where you get like The Exorcist and the horror films of demons taking over people's bodies. Now
Mm,
they can create these aspects of what we have seen in films, but it's not on the grand scale of what we have been perceived. Everything that we experience is just vibration, it's just energy. They can't actually physically hurt us,
So the
create.
concept of being possessed by a demon is kind of what you're describing. Like they can manifest these reactions, but it's not
Mhm.
like an actual evil spirit inhabiting your body.
No, no,
Right.
it's not. The one thing with humanity, we have to
Mm.
try and understand it for it to make sense to then
Yeah.
to be able to create books and
Yeah.
proof, like be scientific about it. Nothing exists unless it's recorded. We
Mm.
understand it. But the one thing with spirit is that we cannot fully understand the concept of what they are on the grander scheme of things. So what the religion have done, especially the church, they have turned it into something that is very demonic, very negative, low, something that can destroy your life if you do not, conform to what it is the church does. You live a good life, you do all the good things, you have to repent, and you have to do this, you have to do that, to conform within that religion. And it's just one way for a religion to control the populace, for example. Now,
Yeah.
I grew up with the church, as a child, and do like the church. I'm not Catholic, but I'm Church of England. And I do like the church as a community, but when you delve deeper into it, it's slightly.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. So the concept, the story about demons being fallen angels, and are there fallen angels? Are there angels?
Exactly. My understanding, I don't know everything, I've not experienced everything, but I have experienced angels. I
Yeah.
have been visited. I would call them light beings as well. They come
Yeah.
through and have passed on information of light beings. They can manipulate their own energy to be physically formed. They can come through looking like Saint Angel, Saint Michael, Saint Christopher, or wherever. They can come through and look like that. And when this angel came through to me, he looked like a boy, very much like the paintings that you would see within
Yeah.
the Vatican and places like that. He came through looking very fresh, very perfect, very smooth skin, and very angelic looking. So, do they exist, angels? They have come through to me and let me know that they are the angels. They can come through looking like angels. So I do believe in that aspect, but it's not who they truly are. They are light beings. They are just energies of light who are able to manifest into the physical, into the concept of what we believe to make it reality for us. It's the same as cryptids.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are light beings able to manipulate society because you've got the culture of Bigfoot, for example. A
Mm.
lot of the time, before you see a Bigfoot, you will see a manifestation of a UFO, something very abnormal, but then you'll see the cryptid, for example.
So in terms of just on that angels or light beings, I think you mentioned in our previous conversation, that they can, in a sense, offer some guidance in that they can plant the seed in our subconscious, and then like a suggestion.
Hmm.
So that would lean towards a guardian angel kind of
Yeah, definitely.
ideal, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we
Yes.
still, like you said, we still exercise our free will because we can choose to follow that guidance or not. So that's very interesting. But you touched on something just then that I want to expand on, the UFOs. So that's another aspect of you that you've experienced.
Hmm.
You've seen a UFO. You've been visited by, and I don't know what to call them, because I think the new terms and non-human intelligence now. Well,
Yeah, I call them
yeah,
ETs,
yeah,
to make it a lot easier for everybody. I just call them
yeah.
ETs. Yeah, it started when I was around 10 years old. Me and my brother, we were in our bedroom. It was in the evening, it was dark. It was about 7:30 or so, in the evening, 8 o'clock. And I remember in the distance, I was standing at my bedroom window, and in the distance, I saw these lights, these lights flashing. I thought it was a plane, but we didn't have an airport nearby, and it looked like it was hovering in the distance, quite far away. But as I stood there watching it, I noticed that it was coming closer and closer to the house that we were living in. I remember saying to my brother, I was like, you need to come up and see this. This ain't normal. I think it's a UFO. What is that? And he stood up and he was watching me with awe, as this craft came closer and closer. But it was moving so slowly in the distance. And it wasn't even high in the sky. It was quite low. It was just above the house, above the trees. That's how low it was. And it carried on coming towards us. And we could see these lights, like very rhythmic and moving very symmetrically.
Kind of like
You know, you know,
strobe lights, or
yeah, your normal colors as well. They weren't like
wow.
it looked like your reds, your blues, your greens, all these different types of colors. And it was coming closer to the house. And as it came closer, it went over the house, and we could see, the underbelly of this UFO, this craft. And as it was going over, me and my brother, we ran downstairs, and my mother was sat in the chair in the corner, and we pulled back the curtains just so we could see. And I said to my mum, "You need to come over and have a look at this. It's a UFO." Obviously, straight away, she did not believe us, told us to go back to bed, said, "You're just trying to play up to stay up," which we often did. And we could see this UFO going above the house, above the trees, carried on very, very slowly, did not make a sound. There was no sound. There was no sensation that we felt at the time. And it carried on going far into the distance. And as it carried on, we went back to bed. But for many years, we didn't talk about the incident. It's like we woke up the next day thinking it was like a dream, you know?
Yeah.
Me and my brother, we didn't talk about it for many years, decades, in fact, until one day he mentioned to me, he said, "Nick, do you remember that UFO that we seen?" I was like, "Wow, I thought that was a dream."
No,
And that's the one thing that, ETs and things like that can do. They suppress your memories. They can clear all of that out your mind. Then we mentioned it to my mother, and she was like, "Yeah, no, I remember that evening. I thought you were just playing up." I was like, "No, it was a UFO."
Yeah.
So everything was, very much real, and we were talking about the moment. But then many years later, I've had two encounters. There's been a couple of times with a UFO, but not like that. But there was a time, and it was last year, in fact. I went to the Arthur Findlay College to do a course with Tony Stockwell, and there were many people there. There was around 100 people on this course, split between various tutors, and I managed to get on the course with Tony Stockwell, quite famous teacher, medium. He teaches all over the world, and before I went, that is when I had the encounter with the angel. He came through, and he was telling me about, telepathically, of course. He was making me aware that we are known as, the people that come and help people and disappear, and we're angels and all this type of thing. But then after the course, I remember I was out shopping, and I was very much drawn to this statue, this object. It looked like there were like 7 people. It was in like a pyramid shape, like these. It looked very strange. Anyway, I was walking past through the aisles, and I seen this thing. I was very much drawn to it. The energy, the signature of this ornament. And it's funny because I've actually got it with me right next to me.
Right.
And I was very much drawn to this object, this statue thing. And I was like, "Oh, I don't like that. Ugly." And also, I don't buy ornaments. And anyway, I went back around the shop, and I was drawn back. And I thought at the time I was being drawn to it from my spirit guides. There was significance, but every time I looked at it and I was near it, I felt a sudden urge, sudden surge of energy. So I said to myself, right, I need to buy this thing. I don't like it, but okay, I need to buy it. And I purchased it, and it sat on my shelf for a couple of weeks, a month or so. There was in fact, let me show you it before we go into detail. But it was this. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. So you can see they don't have the faces, they don't have the eyes and the ears and the nose and everything. And the reason why I thought it was my spirit guides is because I have 6 spirit guides that I'm aware of, and there is seven being things on this statue, and they're all very much holding on to the person in the middle. And that is very much what spirit guides do. They support you, they work with you, they help you through life, they guide you. A few weeks later, after buying this statue, I woke up in the middle of the night, and there were these ETs, these beings standing around my bed, standing at the end of the bed. They were very tall. They looked very, very tall. And they were very slim. They had the typical ET, looks. They had the slit for the mouth, the nose. They didn't have any ears. And their eyes weren't big. They were like,
Right. So not the big ant-like.
Not that I can remember. They were.
Yeah.
They did have various size eyes. One thing that I noticed is that it looked like they were wearing black gloves up to their elbows. But I remember when I looked back to their arms, it looked like there was actually a part of their skin, but they all had these like black gloves on. It was very strange.
Were
And
they, sorry, were they grey? Were they greys or?
they were of a greyish colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say they were like a greyish blue, but they were very slim, very tall. And
Mm.
they didn't say anything. They just stared at me. And I remember I turned away, and then my wife woke up and she was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "No, I've just seen these beings just standing at the end of the bed." I was still awake when they disappeared, but they looked very similar to the statue in various aspects. That they're very
Yeah.
slim. I mean, on the statue, they've got no eyes, ears, or nose, or anything like that. This is the one thing that spirit can do. They can prepare you for a situation, a visitation. They can prepare you for various things. And you'll notice this. A lot of people will experience this, they will
Yeah.
hear things, see things, but they'll just be
Fascinating.
completely oblivious.
And they didn't communicate, you said. They were just stood there. No.
Not that I'm aware of. But after that, it did feel like my mind was expanded.
Mm.
A lot of the things that I had maybe struggled to accept or whatever it was through life just disappeared. It's like maybe I had a download, but I did feel like I had a lot more knowledge of the hidden things, within spirit. I don't know. It's like I just knew a lot more than what I did previous. It's like I've
Yeah.
received a download.
I'm guessing they find you because they sense your vibration is so high as opposed to anyone else. Is that a fair comment? They find you because you're.
The thing with the spirit, with beings, with entities, with anything, once you become aware of them, they are very much aware of you. But also, when you're
Mm.
connected on both ends, the connection becomes stronger. My thoughts through life is that they've always been there in the background. And there are also thoughts of what if these other entities and beings that have been visiting me are actually the same thing? They're ETs coming in a different form because of what is right at the time, what is comfortable to me, what do I understand? Would I be ready to have seen these entities from a very young age? Probably not. But then at the same time, my life was quite traumatic growing up. So it's like they've started with the most traumatic visitations initially,
Mm.
and then, gradually changed to something a lot less, I don't know, scary. But I do believe that all these things do have a connection, whether it be they're all the same thing. They're all spirit, even ETs. Are they light beings? Are they spirits? That is something that I'm still trying to understand,
Yeah.
and work with other people.
We've established that they communicate with you, like telepathically and the various forms, but you could also, you're a medium, so you can do readings
Yeah, so I
for people.
can I can open the doorway, if you want to just, put it into the layman terms. I can connect my energy to a source, a person, a being. So, for example, as soon as you send out your thoughts to somebody that has passed, they automatically draw in, because you're creating a stronger connection with your intention. But it's the same thing with if somebody said, "Okay, I've not thought of anybody," or they have. Everybody
Yeah.
naturally does. But if they say, "Right, can you bring somebody forward with just their name?" And I can, they can just say the
Wow.
name of a person, and I can bring that person through. And there's been a couple of occasions. It's not something I do regular, but definitely I can open the doorway to spirit. And there is something that I currently offer, and it is called the Evening of Spirit. And I offer this Evening of Spirit. It's quite a regular thing for me at the moment. Most weekends, I have maybe a group of up to 8 people, and the service is for me to bring forward spirit into the physical. So I do physical mediumship, but we start off with guided meditation. And I do have to let people know in the beginning, what you're going to experience is real. Everything that you're going to experience within the meditation is real. The spirits that are going to come through are real. So I take them on a guided meditation through a forest, and they're going to be experiencing all the various clair abilities. So they are going to hear, feel, taste, whatever it is I say during that meditation. But then we go through the forest, and at the end we come to a lake, and then I ask them to visualize a doorway to spirit. We ask our spirit guides to step forward, and then that doorway opens. and then their loved ones come through, you know. And a lot of the time it could be a pile of people coming through, it could be one or two, it could be animals, it could be anything. But I leave the people that are in the session with their loved ones for 5-10 minutes. And then at the end of that session, I ask them to bring back their loved ones. And then I will start with mediumship. I will then start communicating with those family members that have come through, and I will pass on messages to the people. So it's like they pick and choose who they want to communicate with. We then later go on to glass work, which is a type of Ouija type of thing.
Right.
It's a glass upside down on a table. But I ask spirit to work with the glass initially to then help with raising the vibration that we've already increased. And I asked spirit to come through physically with the energy that they had when they were alive. So if they were quite an erratic person, you know, quite burly, then the energy would come through like that. It would come through erratic, it would be fast, it would be, you know, solid. If they were quite a nice, light, dainty person, then the energy would come through like that as well.
Wow.
But then we go on to table tipping. Have you heard of table tipping before?
I haven't.
So I have an antique table.
Right.
It's currently downstairs. It resides in my front room. And basically what we do is we invite spirit forward to communicate through the table. The table will move, it will dance, it will slide along the floor, and everybody just has their tips of their fingers on the table. But spirit can, you know, the vibrations increase that much that they can move big objects. It's the same thing. We ask spirit to answer with yes or no, or with how they want to do it. They can even spell out letters, you know, if you want them to. But they will communicate through the table with the energy that they had when they were alive. Very physical, but it doesn't stop there. We also do the Estes method at the same time. So there is somebody, say they wear noise cancelling headphones, they wear a blindfold. So this is one of the people that have, you know, paid to come.
Okay. Yeah.
And they'll be plugged into a spirit box.
Mm-hmm.
It's the PSB7 spirit box. It's like a radio that goes through the radio stations very quickly in reverse, very quickly. And whilst that is going on, spirit are able to manipulate the waves, the technology to communicate. They can say words, they can say sentences. So whilst this person is there with the headphones and everything like that, we ask spirit questions. And whilst they're communicating through the table physically, they're also communicating through the spirit box, and the person is repeating everything. Oh. So it is a very, very interactive evening.
Yes, you know? I have seen that on it. I've seen that on a documentary, actually.
Yeah, they use on programs like Ghost Adventures and, you know, all those type of programs.
What is the purpose of that? Inviting spirit to be present.
It's to make people aware, you know, that once we cross over, we do not disappear. We don't. Yeah. Our physical dies, but we are very much alive. They are very conscious beings. They are still able to interact with the living. They are able to communicate. But a lot of the time, people are so unaware, you know, of this, because the energy of spirit is very subtle. You know,
yes.
You have to prepare for spirit if you want the communication to go further, which is what I do. I manifest spirit into the physical. And they are able to manifest in various forms that is not yet that I've not brought into it at the moment, because it has to be the right environment, it has to be the right energy, the right people, the right, you know, vibration. But spirit are able to step forward as if they were walking through a door. They could step forward physically if there was enough, you know, if everything was right in that moment. Because spirit, they manifest various ways at the moment. You know, they come as orbs. They can see come through mist, smoke. You know, the outline of a person, for example. So why can't they fully manifest into the physical? You know, and they can.
And when you say they are conscious, Nick, do they have a concept in that realm? Do they have a concept of time or
no.
Past, future, and present?
No, because within spirit they are energy. They are the fabric of the universe. They are within everything and nothing all at the same time. But they can manifest, you know, certain aspects of, say they enjoyed living with their family. They can create that concept within spirit and carry on living out that life. So they can themselves create that linear form of existence if they wanted. But is it a natural occurrence like we have in the living? No, it's not. There was a lot more freedom over there.
So then, mediums that offer a service that says that invites people into, sort of, okay, I'll connect with spirit. We'll ask what's going to happen in the future for you. So that's not a possibility if spirit doesn't have a concept of future. Am I right?
Correct, but they are still able to manipulate with our plane of existence. So they can see the things that are about to unfold. We are so dense that we can't manipulate it ourselves, but spirit can because they're in a higher wavelength. They can see our future, our past, our present, all at the same time. And that is why spirit can be in the right place at the right time, for example. That's why they know that they need to be at a certain place ready for the reading, Spirit will often show me as well where a person is going to sit in the audience. And when I get there, the person is sat there. But you have the same concept of free will. They will show me where that person's going to sit. But if that person decides to move, when they get there, then that can happen as well. And it has happened.
Yeah.
They showed me where the person was going to sit. But then when I got there, the seat was empty.
Right.
And I made a joke that, spirit must be playing a joke on me. They showed me this person was going to sit there.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, the lady came up to me and goes, Nick, do you know what? I was going to sit there, but it was a last minute thought. I thought I'd sit at the front. So we do, and we can play, a part of the picture. They don't have full control, but they can play a part, definitely.
I find this so fascinating, honestly. And you have a podcast that I tune into,
Yes.
Eternal Souls. So just tell the viewers about that.
So Eternal Souls podcast is very much a platform that delves into obviously very much the spirituality aspect, but it also interweaves various different things, that people maybe haven't thought about, spoke about, gone into too much detail about. Because a lot of podcasts, not only do they, they talk about the subjects, but maybe the person doesn't have the experience. They just like to talk about it because they believe in it. So I like to talk about something, but also include my own experience within that. But I do like to have it as a platform for intuitives, mediums, sensitives, anybody, even if you're not. Tune in because it's very interesting and you can learn a lot, even if you're an advanced medium, down to someone that's just starting. It's something there for everybody. But in the future, I do want to start delving into the deeper aspect of spirit because at the moment it's very generic. Because I'm trying to ease people into my concept of working, my way of, speaking and understanding of all these different types of things. I think we as, a race of beings, we have evolved so much to the point where now we are, we're accepting that there is something else. There are
Absolutely.
ETs, there are UFOs. We are
Absolutely.
not alone in the universe. So I think we are now ready for the next step within spirituality. And it's definitely spirituality plus, because we are moving beyond the realms of just spirit. We're moving into the realms of something more advanced, something more connected to us.
And with mediumship, is that something you could do remotely?
Yeah, I do online readings. I do prefer one-to-one in-person readings because the connection is stronger.
Of course, yeah.
But the connection is there nevertheless.
Nick, yeah, you're a fascinating human being, so I'm thrilled that you joined me on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Very much enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening. Should you wish to contact Nick or follow his podcast, details are listed in the description below. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Reclaim Project podcast and look forward to your company next time. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.